Hello, hi, I'm Jenny. I'm one of Lewis's colleagues at the South Yorkshire Biodiversity Research Group, and as part of the Ponds and Pollinators project, I just mentioned that my son William, who's 4 years old, he's really interested in ponds and wildlife. And during lockdown this year, in March, one of his favourite things to do was walk around the big pond on some farmland, and he just found it really relaxing, being by the water and enjoying the wildlife. So we thought it'd be a nice idea to try and recreate a mini version of that at home in our quite small and modest garden. I've never put in a pond before at a sort of micro scale, so one of my concerns was whether the water was going to go stagnant. Fortunately, I knew one of my neighbours has a pond as well, so I spoke to her about whether she has a pump, and she didn't. So I did a little bit of research, and I thought it's worth giving it a go. So this is the result. This was put in April 2020. This has been in about 6 months. Our budget for the pond was about £100. We decided that we wanted something a little bit bigger than a sort of a washing up bowl, and because of timescale I just wanted something purpose built, so I purchased this pond liner online. I think it cost about £30, so it's quite good value. You can't see at the moment, but there's actually steps within it as well, so you can plant different plants of different heights. We decided to site it here. It's one of the few south-facing spots within the garden. There was also nothing growing here at the time, so it was good to fill a little bit of a boring spot in the garden. So in terms of positioning it, it was just a case of digging a big hole with a normal garden spade, trying to sort of shape it to the shape of the pond, putting it in position, filling any gap, and then you've got your pond really. Before we actually put the water in, we put the plants in place, and I think that makes it a little bit easier if you put the plants in first, and you can sort of weigh them down using a gravelly based aquatic compost. Try to go for native planting as much as possible. So the biggest plant we've got in here is a flag iris. Here, a yellow flag iris. It's quite important in a pond without any sort of pump and any water and air filtration to have oxygenating plants in there. So we just bought a little pack of oxygenated native plants online. So the 2 species that we have here, one of them is Hornwort, which is still present at the moment. Another of the plants is Arrowwort, and that was really beautiful. It's got some lovely arrow-shaped leaves and a little spikelet flower which attracted wildlife this year. So it's not a completely purist wildlife pond with only native species, but it's still providing a lot of interest and variety for wildlife. And despite the fact it's only been in for 6 months, we saw water boatmen in here this year, so I'm not sure how they got here so quickly, but they have arrived, so that was quite nice for my son to see. Fingers crossed we'll get frogs as well in the future. Around the edge of the pond, we have got some native planting as well. This is a soft rush, Juncus fusus, and this happened to be just growing in my garden following the flood of Fish Lake in November 2019. I think it obviously liked the damp conditions. So I thought, well, that would look quite nice by our pond, and it's survived the hot summer, so I think it'll do just fine there. We've also got next to it something I did buy, but it's a native fern. It's a hart's tongue fern, and it just adds a little bit of shade and shelter for any species that are going to use the pond. We've had birds using the pond already. It's next to a buddleia, so they fly from the buddleia bush and bathe in the pond. So it's been really nice for everybody in the family. My son's absolutely thrilled with his wildlife pond.